My crap. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay. Oh, there's the fourth. And then here are my speech notes. Rest of my speech crowd. Okay. So my speech today is on how to win an argument. If you're anything like me, you like to win the arguments that you get into. So the three main things you need to remember when you're winning an argument are that you have to be well informed on whatever your argument is about. You have to consider the other person's viewpoint, and then you have to stay level-minded and know when to walk away from the argument. So back to being well informed. For example, if you're arguing about dog food, what dog food brand is best for my dog? You need to know everything about your dog, height, weight, anything like that. Then you have to be well educated on dog food brands that fit what a dog that's specified to that height and weight would be best. So for my dog, for example, she eats Blue Buffalo, and that's what we decided was the best because that's her height and weight. Here on the screen, I'm not sure if you can see it very well over there. It's a good argument. A sound argument is an argument that has a true premise, which means whatever you're talking about is correct. All your points are valid, and you had deductive reasoning in coming to your valid, true premise point. So that's how you come to that point. The second, and then Dr. Gilbert from the University Press of America says that's the number one thing when winning an argument is to be informed. The second thing is understanding the viewpoints of the other person. So if you're so well educated about a point that you can understand why the other person feels the way they do, it can help you in your argument try to sway them to try to see your side. So if both of you see each other's viewpoints, it may help them see your viewpoint and then switch whatever their idea was. And then if you stay calm and collected the whole time you're arguing, that's a problem, is people get heated in arguments. So when that happens, that's when relationships get messy and stuff like that. And then the argument doesn't really go anywhere because then you're just mad at each other and not really arguing about what the original argument was about. So it's important to stay on topic and calm the whole time you're arguing. The third and final thing is your relationship may be affected, but you need to understand when to walk away from an argument, not only for personal reasons, but because the other person isn't going to change their viewpoint. So an example I have is I recently got into an argument with someone on Facebook. I don't usually do that. I try to stay away from arguing with people on social media, but, I couldn't help myself because her argument was about whether or not child formula should be a prescription. So she breastfed her child. She thought, they need to make formula prescription only so that women are more inclined to breastfeed their children from the beginning instead of taking the lazy route and using formula. So I tried to explain to her that, not everyone has to use formula because they want to. For example, me, I wanted to breastfeed my child, but because he was born 2 months early, I couldn't because I didn't have good supply, and so I ended up having to bottle feed instead of breastfeed. And it would be a huge inconvenience to have to go through my insurance company, things like that in order to obtain formula to feed my son. So the whole time she was arguing with me and talking about, there's special circumstances and that's why women would be allowed to have formula. So there was just a point in the argument when I decided that it wasn't really worth it to me anymore to continue to argue with her, but I felt sound in my argument that I had won it for myself, I guess is the best way to put it. So you just have to learn where to draw that line. The Harlan Review says it's very important to stay calm during your during your argument, because just like me when I was arguing with that girl, I stayed calm and collected the whole time. So it was more like an educated argument than a heated battle. And Dr. Susan Whiteburn says understanding the opposite side is also important, because I do understand where she's coming from in trying to encourage mothers to breastfeed, but I don't think that forcing them to breastfeed from the beginning, even if they don't want to, is the right way to do it. So that's pretty much all I have. If anybody has any questions.
So yes. What do you think is the most important part to win an argument?
I really think understanding the other person's perspective and then kind of trying to, reiterate, like, what they're talking about and you understand why they feel that way, and then you explain to them why you feel a certain way, and then sometimes I think that really opens up someone else's view about something, if that makes sense. Like,
what role does emotional intelligence play in winning an argument?
Well, if you get over emotional during your argument, then, you have a heated argument, and then the argument doesn't really continue to be about whatever it originally was about. It turns into more of an emotional battle rather than, because when you get in a heated argument and then you're just mad at each other, not even about whatever the argument was about, then it becomes an issue within yourself and your partner, which is why relationships get a little bit messed up during arguments. So, that's all we have for today.
Computer decided to close.
Yeah.